There really has never been a better time to play Virtual World. I think that almost goes without saying. This deck is more resilient, more effective, more reliable than it has ever been, and probably than it will ever be. I don't see E-Telly staying at 2 for much longer. But this is post-Tins. This is my second week in a row going undefeated at locals. I'm very happy with my results. And here's the list. We've got the very pretty 3 copies of Lulu. You got to be running all of these. I've seen some lists playing Prosperity, playing some very weird ratios. I might look into that, but I don't recommend it. 3 of everything except Nyan Nyan. That's just it. You don't play 2-2 because 2-2's bad. I really wanted 2-2 to work when VFD was around, but neither of those are worth playing now. One because it's bad, and one because it's banned for the best. My level 3 package of choice, we have Danger Tsuchinoko and Danger Jackalope. I really hope Konami takes the Nessie route and puts these to 2. It's probably better if they didn't, because I think they're both pretty silly. Upstart on legs, level 3 engine. They can snipe a card you might want in the graveyard, and then special it, and then draw a card. Funny interaction. Jackalope, pitch, Nyan Nyan, special Jackalope, trigger Nyan Nyan, because it's a separate part of the effect. Very funny. After that, we have our hand trap lineup. It is 3 Ash Blossoms, 3 Infinite Impermanences, and you can play 3 Effect Veilers. I was on Effect Veiler for a while until Tactics came out. This is 1 Effect Veiler and 2 Tactics because I had to borrow a Tactic for locals. I would definitely recommend picking up Tactics, but if you can't afford it, obviously there's hand traps. Effect Veiler is very good into this meta, and Infinite Impermanence is about to get a reprint in the Cyber-style structure deck. Never better to have hand traps. Never a better time. We have the 2 honorary Virtual World names. We have the 2 E-Tellys. Just ridiculous. There's no reason this card should be at 2, but I'm glad it is. I'm obviously not complaining. 3 copies of Desires, 2 Germans and an English. I really wish my German would come in from the mail, but I don't know when that's going to happen. You got to play it. If you're playing Prosperity, I don't know what to tell you. I got to take a look at your list because I think it's interesting, but not good. Then we have 3 Kowloon, 3 Qinglong. Just obvious. I don't know why you wouldn't play them. Qinglong is a search. Kowloon is Chuche, of which I play 2. Let's see, the Zanwu, 2 Chuche, and an Imperial Order. Imperial Order, I'm a bit wishy-washy on. I liked having it for both of those locals, but it hurt me sometimes. You top deck into a Desires, and what are you going to do? But usually it hurts my opponent more than it hurts me, and that's all it has to do. Alright, and on to the extra deck. We have 1 copy of Stardust Charge Warrior, 1 copy of Juju, and 1 copy of Coral Dragon for your level 6s of choice. Charge Warrior draws you a card, Coral Dragon draws you a card when it's sent to the graveyard, and Juju can pop a card and protect itself. It's alright. Sometimes you have to make it when you need another name, but you can't quite get there. Shen, one of the best ones, obviously. It's just ridiculous, this card. Macrocosmos on legs, nothing better. I think this is just so sticky. If they ever want to hurt the deck, they ban Shen. I don't know why they would, though, because it's not ban-worthy. It's just silly. It's a very silly card that I don't think is terribly bad or good for the game, Then we have Vermilion Dragon Mech. I think this is the one thing I went into the least when it comes to Virtual World. Like, this was the thing I made the least during both tournaments. It's fine, you pop a card, but if you want to do that, you can make Juju or Coral Dragon. Sometimes you want to have a level 9 that can walk, I guess. Then we have Crystal Wing and Zolkin for that package. My spice of choice, this has been slowly seeing more play. Geomathmech Final Sigma, I was on before anybody else, not to sound like a hipster. But this thing I read and I thought, wow, this thing's silly. I have to make it. I have to be able to walk with it. But I have made it a lot, and it won me a lot of games. I know there was a lot of times where I was staring down a board that I could have walked with, but I know if I had made too much, they could react and really swing the game in their favor, so I just kept walking with Geomathmech Final Sigma. We have Gossip Shadow for the XYZs. Breaksword pops a card, pops... you could set Qinglong, pop it, and then pop something on your opponent's side of the field. Ptolemy, one of the MVPs of the deck over the weekend. I used to not make this a lot until I started drawing hand traps regularly, and especially the floodgate hand traps that just end the game when you draw them against certain decks, like being able to grab a Droll and Knockbird from the graveyard turn 3, or being able to draw a Lancia. It's just ridiculous. Fan because it's Ice Dragon's Prison on legs. Utopia Beyond because it's pretty good. You turn everything to 0 and you start walking. You can make this and Charge Warrior. Charge Warrior can attack everything that's been special summoned, or you can make this and Sigma does double battle damage over 0, so it'd be 6k. Beyond is just nuts. It also outs Dragoon, which is something the deck might have a little bit of trouble with. Or at least it used to, before we had Gaia Dragon and Zeus. 2 cards that definitely needed to reprint, or at least in Zeus's case. Zeus is just ridiculous, and I'm so glad everybody can play it now, even if it is annoying when I see Borbo. But what are you going to do? The way I've approached side decking this format has really just been taking a look at the top 3 best decks and assessing which hand traps are good against them, and then kind of trickling down from there. We have 3 Lancia, which is broken in the mirror match, as well as against Tri-Brigade. That was one of the cards that I was able to resolve twice off of the Ptolemy. I was able to grab it back and just have a Lancia for the next turn, and then walk a couple more times. Then we have 3 Nibiru, hurts in the mirror match and really hurts Drytron. And then we have Droll and Knockbird, which pretty much only hits Drytron and niche stuff, but then again, all of this hurts niche stuff. That's a tongue twister for you. Pank, because it's good going second. Twin Twister, because I hate back row. Harpies, because I hate back row. And Red Reboot, because if you draw it, you win the game. On to the extra deck options, just in case you can't afford a few of the slightly more expensive pieces. Like, I know Crystal Wing is starting to rise in value, so is Zolkin, so is Zeus. Zeus is always going to be a little pricey. We have Muddy Mud Dragon into Caliga. This is pretty much only good with Zolkin, so I'll breeze past it. You could also make Dragoon-ish. It's fine. It's whatever. It's a little weak going turn 3, but fine. No Thung the Starlight. I read this guy. It's silly. It's funny. It's generic. And when it's summoned, mandatory effect, inflict 800 damage. Perfect. Time. That's time in the round. Trishula, because it's Trishula. Little difficult to make. Perfectly fine, though, just in case you need to. Then we have Ravenous Crocodragon. Draws you a card. I made it a lot when VFD was around. Nothing wrong with it. It's a common in the Megatins, too, so if you're just opening a bunch of Megatins trying to build a deck, now you got an extra deck slot. Wolf Freyette. Terrible. I don't recommend this at all unless you just pulled it out of your entry pack. I see a lot of lists on it. I think it's bad Nibiru. You could just be playing Nibiru. Whatever. That's it for the Synchros. We'll move on to the slightly shorter extra deck for the XYZs. Fortune Tune, if you have a Zeus but you have an extra slot, Fortune Tune is perfectly good for that. Promises you're going to get the Zeus out because you can just walk, protect it, main phase 2, overlay for Zeus, detach 2, clear the board. Photon Strike Bouncer for very niche hands. It's a situational monster negate. Let's see, yeah. When a monster effect is activated on your opponent's side of the field, you can detach a card and burn for 1,000. Fine, why not? It's something you can make. And then we have the really spicy engine. This is less of a option just in case you can't afford it, and more of an option to play if you want to make a really funny list. You can make Beatrice and Dragonlark Pyron. These two in combination, Beatrice dumps a card on your turn, and then during the next turn, during the standby phase, dumps like Scythe or Wind Barrier Statue, or I've even seen Fossil Dyna. And then Pyron, during that same standby phase, can reborn it. Scythe will prevent the activation or the special summon of extra deck monsters. Wind Barrier Statue is Wind Barrier Statue, and Fossil Dyna is Fossil Dyna. This is a very interesting build. I haven't tested it too much yet, but I have it just in case I ever think I really want to make enemies. And if you think you want to make enemies and play Virtual World, play this. It's very funny, very interesting, and both of these cards are super cheap. The most expensive part is going to be Scythe, honestly.